What is going on, my broskiis? My name is Toadskii, back again, here to bring you guys yet another One Piece Treasure Cruise video. So with the latest update that just came out, version 13.4, it actually didn't really give us like a hell of a lot of information, you know. Pretty much if we go to the notice board, it gives us a brief rundown of what actually happened. You see it added the new crew setup for Kizuna Clash. We'll have a brief look over that. It also says that it adjusted quest guide information. Not 100% sure what they meant in regards to that, but the added new features for new characters. This is something that we're going to be, taking a little bit of time to have a look at and discuss, because our data miners in the Treasure Cruise community were able to find out exactly what new features were added for characters, and it has an interesting thing that, could really change the way that we build teams in terms of the amount of damage that we're able to do, and I think it's going to be very, very fascinating. So we'll talk about that in just a moment. But I guess for the 13.4 update, obviously if we go to the Kizuna Clash menu, it is going to show us the Kizuna Clash crew button is finally in the game. One thing that they actually have done, by the way, they've actually adjusted what this new ORBS special does. And it's not a major change, but if you go down to the bottom of his text box here, it says that if you land Perfect Strike, massively reduces portion of each enemy's damage dealt that exceeds 10,000 for 2 turns. But beforehand, it also had some weird thing where after 1 turn has passed, it removes all increased damage taken and threshold on your side of the field. It was really weird. I don't really think it needed to be there, but they're kind of just removing that now. So yeah, I don't know why they decided to change it. This is the first time I've ever seen them do that, where they input a character into the game, and then before the character's released, they actually change what the unit does. Very, very weird mechanic, unless if it was like a mistake and that text box shouldn't have been there. I don't think they would have just straight up changed the character's actual abilities. That would be really weird. But either way, Alba's been slightly changed, and we can click the Kizuna Clash crew button. And this is pretty much what we see when we build treasure map teams. So we've got our quick boss right here. So this is our first quick boss, and you go to the quest guide, and it gives you a breakdown of, recommended characters, obviously the boosted units, of course, and it breaks down exactly what you should be expecting for each of these fights. It even shows between level 1 and 30, and then you have your battle 3-2. So this is when the boss is 31 or above. So I like that they're doing that. It gives you a bit more information, and you don't need to refer to the infographic all the time. You've got the info in game, which is good. So that is nice. What I will say though, it does take more effort from the team to do it, but I would love for them to change the recommended character option, and instead of just injecting these, boosted units, actually give a list of characters that are boosted that actually help combat the gimmicks in the quest, rather than just say, hey, if you have the boosters, you're good. If you don't, well, it's up to you to figure out a team. I really wish that they would actually, put a little bit more effort into it, but it is what it is. So you've got the 3 bosses, you've got the quick boss, strength, and you also have the dex boss. But then when you go further, it then transitions into the super boss. So you've got the strength super boss and the quick super boss, and then you have the reserve squads there. So you've got 2 reserve squads, and this is normally because you would have maybe 3 super bosses, but this time around there's only 2 super bosses, and then it goes back to the start. So this is cool. I like that this is finally input into the game. Should have been there a long, long time ago. But let's talk about the other component of this update for 13.4, which is the introduction of new mechanics for new characters. So first of all, I want to give a massive shout out to Solaris for data mining this information for us, and there's a few things in this list that we're going to have a look at and discuss, and how it can kind of change the way that we build teams. So the first thing here, stack attack boosts. Allow to stack attack boosting effects. So that's just kind of crazy, because for however long, the game has been out, whatever buff you have, you can only have one version of that buff. If you activate like a 1.5 attack boost, any other attack boost you launch during the time that that buff is still active is null and void. It doesn't work, right? This is now saying that we can have multiple attack boosts, and right below that, stack type effect boosts and stack slot effect boosts. So they're introducing now mechanics to give us multiple versions of attack, orb, and color affinity together. And I'm going to bring this back already to some of the characters that were received over the past 12 months. The characters that have allowed us to double stack conditional boosts. And it's kind of crazy that they're introducing this right now, because I would have thought, if you would have told me that, hey, you can double stack a buff, which buff would you want to double stack? Personally, I feel like the first one that should have come out would have been attack boosts, right? But for some reason they opted for conditional boosts first, and now they've seen the success of how good that mechanic is. They've introduced Big Mom, You got Robin, of course, and they introduced the Exchange Legend Ace that have the ability to double stack conditional boosts whilst also being guaranteed conditional boosts themselves. And now we have the ability to do it for attack, color affinity, and all boosts, so we can expect this to come out hopefully soon. The fact that they've introduced this in this update means that it could be potentially for the next upcoming Egghead Sugo Fest with Lilith, Bonnie, Luffy. We'll have to wait and see exactly what the Sugo Fest structure is all about, but it is super fascinating to see that they're giving us that. And you could just imagine, like, if we have teams in the way that they're currently built, and if you have the ability to have like 2 attack boosts, 2 color affinities, 2 orb boosts, 2 conditional boosts, the damage would get kind of crazy. And it just means that damage really isn't going to be a lot of the problems now. It's really just going to come down to bringing characters that counter gimmicks. Damage probably not going to be that big of an issue when you have characters that can do things such as this, right? We'll see. We'll see exactly what's going to come into fruition in regards to these specific components. And I assume that there's going to be pretty heavy conditions attached to these as well. Maybe health conditions, class conditions, maybe depending on what type of enemy you're facing, we'll have to see. But below that, there's more. There's more gimmicks to talk about. This thing called Target. It says, increase damage taken from certain enemies and reduces special charge time of a character that defeats with normal attacks or specials. So it's like if an enemy has a target on them, it takes increased damage from certain enemies. So maybe it's like it's a target on it, and if you kill that target with a strength character, maybe that strength character gets the buffs of cooldown reduction when you kill them with a special or normal attacks. But this is interesting because, again, this could be a new mechanic for the Vegapunk related characters. You put a target on an enemy, and then when you kill them, you get like buffs. This could be honestly like a captain ability kind of thing, or a super type thing, or maybe even like a switch effect for a dual unit. Like you switch effect, targeted enemy, and then if you kill the enemy with a certain class or color or something, then you get like cooldown reduction or buffs for doing that, like performing that that target, requirement. You get buffs for doing it. I think that's kind of fascinating. I kind of dig that. It's something new, something refreshing, something that we didn't really get a hell of a lot of in New Year's. We got Zoro Sanji for New Year's. That unit is hella refreshing. The other two, not so much. Next, we have the Weakened, whatever Weakened is. Increased damage taken, and further increases the effect of increased damage taken effects applied on the enemy side value, XXX. And then there's something about increment, not really too sure what that's referring to. But as for the Weakened thing, this is how, obviously it says increased damage taken. So this will basically buff the effectiveness of increased damage taken. That's interesting. So it's kind of like a buffed version of increased damage taken. So if you have a way to inflict that debuff to the enemy, and then you apply Weakened on top of it, it's like while they have increased damage taken, they become weakened, and then they get just more damage dealt against them. Again, we don't know how this is going to be applied for characters in the future, but potentially this could be like a new type of conditional boost that could happen in the future too. Maybe you could have a conditional boost against targeted enemies, a conditional boost against weakened enemies. So there's, again, lots of nuances that have to come into this, but again, this could also be opponents. The opponents could target you, right? Maybe they target you and they take more you take more damage from those enemies, or they put increased damage taken on you and then make you weak. Maybe that could be something too. You have to watch out. And then the last one here, reduce damage taken, enemy only. Reduces damage taken from normal attacks. See, this is kind of weird because just sounds like % damage reduction, does it not? Reduce damage taken from normal attacks. But it does say enemy only, so I assume maybe this is like for an enemy, for your opponents, like the characters you take on in quests. Reduce damage taken, they just take less damage from normal attacks, unless if this is like a new type of way for them to reduce damage. Not liking the sound of this one, but then again, the fact that they're giving us double stacking of all of these buffs, and then they're going to apply, again, reduce damage taken, it just doesn't really make a lot of sense. Like, why would you give us a way to enhance our damage by multiple factors, but then also apply new debuff, which reduces damage by multiple factors? It's kind of dumb. But I guess it depends. Maybe like the reduced damage taken is only against certain classes, and then they try to like shoehorn certain things in. It just sounds very, very bizarre. But it's interesting that with this new update 13.4, yes, it didn't really give us a lot of things to play with right now, but with these new character gimmicks, it introduces some interesting things that could come in the future. So it's crazy that this Nico Robin legend actually like paved the way for this, all of these new things coming into the game now, and we'll have to wait and see exactly again how this is going to be implemented, whether this be implemented as a captain, maybe like the character says as a captain it allows you to provide double stacking attack boosts. Like, that would be pretty dope if they introduce characters that can do that. Like, we have characters with specials, like obviously with this Nico Robin, but you have to launch the special and there's a really heavy condition attached to it. But imagine just as a captain, passively all the time, you can have 2 attack boosts active at any given point. Like, that would be pretty wild. And then you have like another Vegapunk character that can double stack color affinity, or one that can double stack orb boosts, and maybe one as a captain that could double stack conditional boosts. It would just be absolutely bonkers if they decided to do something like that. But let me know your thoughts and opinions about these new mechanics down below in the comment section. Kizuna Clash is going to be coming very, very shortly. Of course, when it does go live, bring you guys content in regards to that Kizuna. It's going to be interesting to see how things go. And hopefully your Kizuna Clash goes well, and good luck with your Kizuna Clash exchange ticket pulls. Anyways, that's going to wrap it up from me. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed it, make sure to go ahead and leave a like. And if you want to stay up to date with all the content I post, including more One Piece Treasure Cruise content, make sure to hit the subscribe button down below. On that, guys, I'll see you guys within the next video.